Tell me a little bit about the casting of the Tomb Raider.
Of Tomb Raider.
It doesn't sound straightforward. You thought you were turning up for something else, were you?
Yes, so the casting of it was kind of like any normal audition that you would do for TV or film. But the code name was Cryptids, and it just said interactive media, which I actually admittedly didn't even know what that was. But it was so vague in the breakdown that we got that we weren't really sure what it was exactly, but I loved the character, and they called her Sarah, so I didn't know that she was Lara Croft either. But just from the breakdown itself, I thought that it sounded kind of Lara Croft-esque inspired. So I went to my audition in boots and shorts, and I thought, well, this is kind of the vibe I'm going to go for. And that was the first audition. And then actually, the second audition was supposed to happen on the weekend, and I actually got a concussion. And I said, I can't do the audition. And so the casting director called my agent, and she said, I will drive her to the audition if I have to. Mm-hmm. So I thought, okay, well, clearly it's going quite well if someone wants to drive me there. And then I showed up, and there were 3 girls that they had gotten it down to. And the second audition was the same thing. We had scenes that we had to do, which are in the game, like video diaries. And then they wanted to see us run and jump and like almost act like we're drunk, like stumbling everywhere. And I really was quite clueless as to why. And then a week later I heard that I got it, and then they said, oh, by the way, you're Lara Croft in the new Tomb Raider game. And I thought, excellent, my brothers might finally respect me after all these years. So that was the process of getting.
Did you ever play the original Tomb Raider games? Or?
My brother had the original game.
Yeah.
So when I could steal it off him, I played rubbish. I'm terrible at my own game too. I'm at only 30% of the way through, and I've killed myself numerous times at this point.
It happens.
Yeah.
It's quite brutal. Well, I was going to say, like, the original Tomb Raiders, they were these quite, they were quite fluffy and friendly, and, she'd run into a wall and she'd be like, no!
Yeah.
Whereas in this one, it's more like a European horror film, some of the stuff she goes through. I mean, was that, when you were acting out, were you doing, like, pretending to be stabbed in the throat in the vocal booths and things
There
like
was,
that?
I mean, it kind of depended on what the scene was. There were definitely certain scenes that I acted out. I did the motion capture for, and then there was a day in an ADR booth where they capture just your voice. There's nothing on your face or your body, and that I just died for a day in every way possible that I could be killed. And I remember it was just so bizarre. I remember one time they said to me, okay, now drown. And I said, okay, well, I've never experienced drowning before. And they just handed me water, and I had to like act like I was choking. So some stuff I definitely did motion capture for. Other things I did in the booth.
So do you know, is there any sort of script that you're given beforehand, or you just wing it while you're there?
No, it's very, very detailed. When you go, I mean, first off, it was a 3-year process in total. And I would go on my days off from Californication or whatever it was that I was working from. I couldn't even tell anyone for a long time until last summer. And everything would be scripted out, and they would kind of show me pictures and drawings of how it would look. And then for me, I'd never done motion capture before, so I had no idea necessarily how it worked. But something that was interesting to me is when you go into the volume, which is the big stage where they filmed Tomb Raider, they would have like a box, and they would say this is fire and this is a wall, and they would have a pole for a tree or something like that, but then they would bring it up on a flat screen, and I was synced into Lara so I could walk around the level or whatever it was, and I would be able to see in the flat screen what it really looked like. So I would walk over and I'd be able to see the fire, and so that made it realistic to me, but everything was very, very planned out. There was no improvisation.
Was it disturbing to see yourself or a likeness of yourself repeatedly killed in quite gruesome ways?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, absolutely. It is, I mean, it's such a brutal game that I remember thinking that, oh my god, I'm Lara Croft, it's going to be easy, I'm not going to have like any cuts or bruises, because she just goes in and double guns everybody. But it was, I mean, the reboot is so completely different. and she's in agony, and it was really tough to even play her at times. And then there were times when I said, okay, I just need 10 minutes before we jump to the next scene because she's just been stabbed or whatever it was. And you know, to get in that headspace, I feel like you can tell, especially in games, when something almost doesn't sound real. So it's like it was so important to make sure that everything was really authentic, just to me as an actress, and to have that constant communication with the director who was there. I mean, it is similar to an extent to TV, but you kind of almost have more free range of where you get to go because you're not concentrating on where a camera is and shooting out. So yeah, but it was very tough. I mean, it's tough to play it, and it is tough to watch it. So. Was
there any kind of method acting involved beforehand? Did you go on an island?
I stabbed myself.
Yeah.
No, there's no experience. I mean, probably my nearest
concussion
experience being out was Center Parks when I was like 13. No, there was no experience getting shipwrecked.
And Lara Croft's a character with a huge existing heritage, and because the reboot's so different in the way it approaches her as a character, were there any challenges for you as an actor, sort of having to maintain the character that already existed, or sort of acknowledge the character that existed but taking it in sort of a new direction?
Yeah, I think it would have been almost harder if they had made her exactly the same. I would have felt like I was stepping into somebody else's boots. But it really, I had like complete artistic license almost with her to like make her real to me. I mean, she's only 21, you know, and she has that sense of adventure, and she doubts herself, and all those very interesting aspects of her character that make for that journey. But no, I didn't find it as intimidating, I think, as I would have if I had to kind of come off somebody's performance, and you know, it was so different that she felt new to me.
Loaded question. Would you like to play her again?
Yes, absolutely.
Is there any hint as to that's happening or anything? Or?
What can I say? I'm not sure I can say anything. I would imagine that there is another game coming because it's supposed to. I mean, it just is written that way for her to continue to have that cool. You know, journey. So
just testing.
I hear you.
And would you be interested in fulfilling other possible acting roles as the role of Lara Croft?
Yes. So GK Films is making a film. They're in very, very early stages. They're in the middle of writing a script. So
but you would be interested in possibly
they know.
As well,
yeah, I've already they know. I've already met.
And you wouldn't be playing it like Angelina Jolie, obviously.
It's a completely different character to Angelina Jolie anyway. I don't think this Lara would like walk into a room and put her boots up on the table.
And you wouldn't have Chris Barry camping it up as the butler, obviously.
Yeah. No, it'd be completely different.
So how have you found it? You go from playing the future King of England's wife to Lara Croft. As an actor, two different types of storytelling entirely. What has it pushed you as an actor to do the Lara Croft role? Where has it pushed you really from depths of your acting knowledge?
I mean, in any role I've played so far, nothing has physically pushed me like Tomb Raider has. It was extremely physical, and the depths of despair that she feels is I haven't experienced in any other role yet. So I almost feel like it was the most challenging thing by far. I mean, the Will and Kate film was like this guilty pleasure, fun cheese fest that was really fun. It was really, really fun for me. But the highs and lows of that film just don't even compare to something like Tomb Raider, and even other roles that I've done. I mean, it's quite. She's going through extreme circumstances, so that's appealing as an actress to feel like this character is completely broken down at one point and then has to build herself up.
Quite fun because she gets really confrontational during the game. She's like, "You bastard!" Yeah. I take it was quite fun after all the suffering to let loose and be like.
It was my favorite moment in the game.
Bring out your inner Danny Dyer. So.
Yeah, my favorite moment in the game is when she gets those double guns. And they actually cut out something that was like my favorite line.
What
But
was
like
the line?
she says, I don't know why they cut it out, but it was really cool moment, I thought. And she grabs the double guns, and the first time she's shooting the wall, she yells at them, "I'm Lara fucking Croft." And it's like this like intense moment that could have been extremely cheesy, but actually it was like amazing. So yeah, it felt empowering to have those moments, because for so much of the game she is completely beaten down. So yeah.
And was it noticeable to you that the role was, in part at least, written by a strong female writer in terms of Cratchit, and how was that as taking on the sort of iconicness of Lara Croft and conveying that as a character?
That's a hard question, because I'm almost wondering what it would have been so different if a male had written it. I mean, I think that this is a story of just basic human survival. So I feel like maybe gender doesn't play into it. It's just like, what would you do as a human being? That's probably my feeling about it. But yes, I mean, Rihanna's a great writer, and you know, it's a testament that Lara is who she is in this game because of her. So maybe it does have to do with, you know, having that feminine female voice. But I really think it's kind of not even about gender.
I think it helps make it genuine.
Yeah. But now I'm interested to see how a male would have written it. Do you know what I mean? Like, is she losing her shirt midway through the game? Like, what I know.
Well, arguably, there was more male influence in the earlier Lara Croft stories, and she was more of a sex symbol at that time, whereas she's more of a female icon, perhaps, in the latest.
She is, but also I'm not sure really how much of that is also just the way she looks too, and I don't know really how much of an input Rihanna had, if any, in that. And that came from men at Crystal Dynamics, because I think that making her realistic looking, I mean, it would have been such a strange game to have that emotional, you know, experience that she has, and then she's in a tube top, you know, like it would have felt very strange.
Have we got the last question? Or?
Just a question about TV question. I mean, what was it like coming into Grey's Anatomy? That's such a juggernaut of a series.
God. Intimidating at first. They're 9 seasons in. They're still the #1 drama in the US, and it's a well-oiled machine. In my first few episodes, I had to be really nervous acting with Ellen Pompeo, and I really wasn't acting. I was terrified. I was truly terrified. I got the script at like 8 p.m. the night before, and they wouldn't give it to me until all my contracts had been signed, and then the next day I had to film, and I had just an entire page of medical dialogue with just these words I'd never said before in my life, and I was literally shaking my first few weeks on that show. But now I love it. I mean, I loved it then, but now it just kind of feels like family, it feels like home.
Picked up any useful medical knowledge along the way?
I think I could perform an appendectomy.
Really?
If anybody has appendicitis.
That'd be useful if you got stranded on a shipwrecked island and stuff like that.
Exactly. I like that.
Sorry.
I know where to cut.